What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm going to bring you a quick review. I've had this lens for about a month now of the Canon RF 50mm 1.2. I do want to say that I'm not a professional photographer. I do this stuff on the side, and actually I mainly use my camera for video. I use it a ton for traveling and for we have a 14-month-old. We like to travel, we like to get out and about, so I do use this lens a lot, and I've had it for about a month now, and I kind of want to go over who it may be for, who it may not be for, other things to consider. Am I going to keep it? Am I going to sell it? It's an expensive lens. We'll get into that when the review gets going. But a few little bit of things about this. It's a $2,300 lens, I think $2,299 retail. I purchased it through the Canon outlet. They're refurbished, and it was like a little over $2,000, which I know it sounds a little insane, but hear me out here, because there's not a whole lot of other options when it comes to RF lenses. I know there's the 1.8, but we'll talk about that down the line. I believe it's 15 elements, 9 groups, 10 rounded aperture blades, blah blah blah. It's 950 grams, a little over 2 pounds, so it is fairly heavy. So we'll get into that when we go into the review. First, we'll start off with the overall purchasing from the Canon outlet. I've purchased almost majority of my stuff from there. It's always arrived in like new condition, and it comes with one-year warranty. So if you're wanting to get something a little bit cheaper, sometimes they do run 10% off deals in there also. I would highly recommend getting it from there if you can, and it was only the place that had it in stock, because this lens is either COVID is slowing down the production or it's a limited release, but it's very difficult to find, or you have to wait 2 to 4 weeks once you order it before it ships out. So build quality is excellent. It's one of the better built lenses out there if you ask me, but I think most of the Canon L series lenses are all top notch. I've had the 51.2 EF lens. It had very good build quality. This is no different. I think this would probably withstand just about anything. Internal focusing, so it does have 2 USM, I believe that's their nano focus motors, so you do have 2 of those on the inside, so it doesn't protrude out like some of the cheaper 1.8 Canon RF lenses. So build quality is great. It's weather sealed. It has a gasket on the end, so you do have a little rubber gasket there on the end, which helps keep, basically once it's mounted to your camera, if you take it, we're going to do a beach trip, so I'll probably take this lens just because of the weather sealing on it. 77mm front filter. I have a B+W, just standard protection filter, clear, on there. I would highly recommend doing that. If you're going to purchase spend more than $1,000 on a lens, I'd get one of those. But build quality is great. You do have the control ring here. I believe all RF lenses have these, even the cheap. I'm using the 35 1.8 to shoot this with. It even has that, but it feels smooth. The focus ring feels great. It is made in Japan, so that's a plus if you're not into the made in China stuff. I personally don't care, but it is made in Japan. And then you have your, let's see, I don't know, you have your autofocus, manual focus button there, and you have your other button there. They just feel good, feel like good quality buttons. I don't feel like they're gonna break or anything. Again, it is an RF lens, which is an L series, so it's gonna probably last you for the rest of your life. So image quality. This is subjective, but I find that it is probably the best 50mm lens I've ever used. I've used this. I've used the Canon, some of the 1.4 older EF lenses. I've had the 51.2L, which was great. It was not in focus half the time because there's all kinds of production issues, or at least issues with that lens, with things being focused and it being centered, but had a ton of character, which is one reason why I really like this. It has character to it. So I've used some Nikon 50mm 1.8G lens, I believe. And it had similar character, but every lens will have a little bit of different character to it. So it is an excellent image quality lens. Even at 1.2, it's sharp. I have the Canon R6. It focuses like 95% of the time. I have no issues with focus. It's always tack sharp. and it seems to be well centered, even though I don't think with mirrorless that's a big issue with that. But it is a very, very good lens. It's fast focusing, but not as fast as I would say some of the Sony options. Like I had the Sony 1.4G. I think all the Sony G Master lenses are way better at focusing than any of the Canon ones. But there's a lot of glass to push around in here, so it does have two focus motors in it, and it is fairly loud compared to the Sony G Master lenses. So it is not the quietest of lenses when it comes to focus. Honestly, I think that the 35mm or the STM motor in the lens I'm using right now is actually better at being more quiet at focusing than this. But focus is really quick. It's everything I've shot with it has been tack sharp. Shooting into the sun, which I don't use a lens hood. I like the character of the lens. You do get these rainbow effects. Sometimes you get one, sometimes you get two, depending on the angle of shooting into the sun. And I actually really like that. I'll try to get a picture up of it. But you do have that, and then you also have a little bit of flare in different spots depending on what angle you're shooting at. So I really like that. Each picture I take with it, especially shooting into the sun, it is produced some stellar images of that. So that's image quality. It's excellent. One of the better ones I've used out there. Not quite. It's probably similar in image quality as some of the Sony G Master lenses. But their focusing is, I still think, better than this, just because you're moving a lot of glass around and it's pretty loud. I was shocked at how loud the USM motors are. And I would not recommend using this for video if you use a shotgun microphone because of how loud it is. The STM motor that's in the 35 that I'm using right now is actually more well suited for video. It even says that on Canon's list page. So I would not recommend this lens for video. If you have a lav mic, you're perfectly fine. You'll be okay there. But if you're using a shotgun mic like I am, this is not your go-to move because it is really loud. I'm just shocked at how loud it is considering how modern of a lens this is. I know it's moving a lot of glass, but I think Sony's focus is just, especially their G Master lens, I don't know what they use in there. Supposedly they use some type of magnetic focusing. I don't know, but their stuff is top notch. I've used multiple of their G Master lenses, but overall, still happy with it. Excellent image quality. So basically, if you're looking for a shallow depth of field, maybe a portrait lens or a walk around lens, and you have $2,000 plus to spend on it, I would recommend it. You could also, if you want to save a little bit of money and you're not a pro or you don't have the money to throw at it, I mean, I sold a lot of my Sony stuff to actually purchase this, so I had the extra cash, but they do have the 50 1.8. It has the STM motor in it, but what I find is that the 35 STM motor is actually pretty good with focusing. Yes, it does an internal focus, but I believe it's a $200 lens, so if you want to save some money, I would get that. If you don't care about the weather sealing or the 1.2, or the resale value, I could probably sell this for the exact same thing I paid for it, so I don't think it's going to lose its value. Most L lenses or any of the Nikon, Sony, Canon lenses out there, their pro grade lenses will hold their value. So if you just want to try it, you have the money to spend. Especially if you can get it used or refurbished, I would do it. And then if you don't like it, just sell it. So who it may not be for, some things I don't like about it, and why I may not keep it. So the first thing, it's heavy. God, this thing is heavy. I don't understand why they didn't do a 1.4. I would be perfectly fine with the 1.4, lighter, with the same focusing that this has, but it's a very, very heavy lens. You notice it considerably when you're using it on your camera versus the 35 1.8 that I have on here is super light. So that's one thing. If you're looking for a portable system, I don't think the Canon actually RF mount is for you at all. I'd look at Nikon or Sony because they just have smaller setups. Obviously price is another negative. It's extremely expensive, but you could sell it if you didn't like it, or you were strapped for cash. You may lose a couple $100 if you wanted to sell it quick, but from what I've seen, they sell them between $1,800 and $2,200 depending on the time that I've seen them sell. The focus motors are loud, at least louder than I was expecting. Previously I was coming from the Sony, the 1.4G is the one, or G Master lens is the one I use the most, and it was dead silent all the time. Like, you couldn't hear a single thing. This one's pretty loud, so you will notice that, but it's moving a lot of glass, so I don't know if they could have made it any quieter. So that's something to keep in mind. It draws a lot of attention if you're wanting something more silent oriented and you don't want to be seen. This is definitely not it. It's almost the size of my head. It is a really big lens that says screams, I don't know, it's got a red ring on it, so people know that stuff. If you don't like the 50mm focal length, I would not, or if you don't use it very much, if this isn't your primary lens that you use for 90% of your stuff, I would not recommend it, and that's one reason why I may actually end up getting rid of it, because I prefer a little bit wider. I prefer like a 35 or 24 and maybe like a 70 to 200 or 135. I don't really like the 50mm focal length. It is very nice. I've got excellent images that I've never been able to get before on any other camera or lens setup, but it's just not my preferred focal length. So I may actually get rid of it whenever the 35 1.2, I think they have a patent for that L lens. It'll basically be this, but 35mm. It'll probably be twice as big, because usually the wider the lens, it can get a little bit bigger. So that's something. Those are some of the negatives who I would recommend it. If this is going to be your one and only lens that you use, if you use it for weddings or just general lens that you're going to use all the time, I still recommend it. Not for video. I would not recommend this for video. It's not even great. I mean, it focuses okay. It's not, even compared to the Nikon Z series, which I had before, those did way better at video. I'm really happy with the 35 1.8, that STM motor. So if you're looking for video only, or mainly video, I would get the cheaper 50 1.8 with STM motor, because they're a little bit smoother. They're silent when it comes to video focusing. So something to keep in mind. And obviously, if you don't have the money, do not spend the money on this. If you're in financial, if you have to sell a kidney to get this lens, I would not. It's probably image quality, probably not that much different than the 1.8. I do find that shooting into the sun, I get a little bit more. I rented the 1.8 for a little bit, and this one I think does a little bit better at shooting into the sun. Obviously, the background blur is way more creamy, just because the 1.2, 1.8, there's a huge difference there. And I'm really shocked at how, what are you doing? Sorry, computer turned off. I'm really shocked at how actually sharp it is. That's one good thing about the mirrorless systems, is just how sharp you can actually get this stuff. So that's it. If you have any comments, questions, leave them below. Sorry, this is a rambled video of, I'm not a pro again. It's something that I just do on the side and enjoy. I've always had a good camera setup, especially when we had our baby, who is 14 months now, which is crazy. I take way more photos. I randomly will go outside all the time when the sun's coming up or coming down, just to see what I can get, because this thing does really well. It has a lot of character when you shoot it into the sun. So that's it. Comments, questions, leave them below. I will try to answer them. I'll get a more long-term review of this up as I go, and I'll get a review up of the 1.8 35 STM motor lens that I'm using right now. Spoiler, I would recommend it. Get it from the outlet for $400 if you can, or used. It's a great lens for the price. Have a good rest of the day, weekend, whatever it is out there, and I'll see you guys next time.